Happy January something, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Superhero Deep Dive. I am your host, Jason. Apologies this week. I am battling something. It's not anything serious. It's just some congestion and exhaustion from running myself ragged lately. But we will push through this and have an awesome show. Let me give my disclaimers as I normally do before we get into it. The information pulled is from different sources across the internet and may or may not be completely complete, but they do give a really good insight on the current superhero. And with that being said, feel free, if you guys want to catch me on Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram, you can catch me at Super Deep Dive. If you are watching me on YouTube, welcome. That's under Superhero Deep Dive, and I upload a new video every Tuesday at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. I also do weekly superhero memes, which I'm going to try to catch up with and get that going. And I've also started weekly pro wrestling meme videos. So if you guys like that, they're good for a laugh. They're only 10-15 minutes long, so they're really small. And I hope that everyone enjoys them. Also, you can email me directly if you want with any kind of comments, critiques, requests for future episodes, fun factoids, anything like that. Anything I may have missed that you felt I should add in at b4itall@yahoo.com. So it's b4itall@yahoo.com. And you can also catch me every Tuesday and Thursday on Outworld Fleet Radio, which is www.un-con-ventional.com/radio. Like I said, that's every Tuesday and Thursday. Throughout the day, they will air my episodes. So I am multimedia'd, I guess. I am all over the place. But I wanted to cover one of the very first superheroes, and it is the original Human Torch, Jim Hammond. I always loved this hero. Fun fact about him, which you may or may not have realized, in the very first Captain America movie, Captain America the First Avenger, when they go into the World's Fair exhibit to see Howard Stark, it looks like a mannequin in a tube in a red suit. That is actually Jim Hammond, the Human Torch. So technically, if that's a mannequin, it's a mannequin. But if it's the actual Jim Hammond in the tube, he is considered the very first superhero in the modern MCU. So just soak that in, because that's awesome. And no one knows about him. Okay. So, Jim Hammond, the original Human Torch, is actually an android created by scientist Phineas Horton. He possessed the ability to surround himself with fire and control flames. In his earliest appearances, he was portrayed as a science fiction monstrosity, but quickly became a hero and adopted a secret identity as a police officer for the New York City Police Department. The Human Torch was one of Timely Comics' 3 signature characters, along with Captain America and Namor the Submariner. Like many superheroes, the Human Torch fell into obscurity by the 1950s. And the reason that is because people were going more into army comics, or even the horror comic genre became popular at that time. Superheroes just kind of fell by the wayside. But in 1961... Stan Lee and Jack Kirby repurposed his name and powers for a new character. Johnny Storm, a member of the Fantastic Four who is actually a human mutate. And that's not a mutant, they're different. Mutates are people that develop powers after the fact. Like, they're not born that way. So like Spider-Man, for instance, would be considered a human mutate. But unlike Captain America and Submariner, the original Human Torch had only a small presence in the post-1950s Marvel comic books, and is closely associated with the Golden Age. And man, what an age that is awesome. In 2012, Hammond was ranked 28th in IGN's list of top 50 Avengers. Alright. Seeing a natural fire and water theme, Timely Comics was responsible for comic books' first major crossover, with a 2-issue battle between the Human Torch and Submariner that spanned Marvel Mystery Comics number 8 and number 9, telling the same story from the two characters' different perspectives. Let me tell you something. That's an awesome idea. Because, you know, there's a lot of philosophical schools of thought that there are no actual villains, that everyone is righteous in their own eyes. I mean, in Judeo-Christian society, it's even in the Bible. You know, to the Christian society, probably I believe it may be even Old Testament. I can't be sure. So if it is, then that's even Jewish society. But everyone is righteous in their own eyes. So having the same story put in two different perspectives on, you know, why they're fighting, that's genius, and that's beautiful, because you're getting that, which is exactly, you know, something I would be interested in. So anyways, the Human Torch was a humanoid android created by Professor Phineas T. Horton in his lab in Brooklyn, New York for scientific purposes. At a press conference unveiling, however, Horton's creation burst into flames when exposed to oxygen. The android showed human-like sentience, personality, and awareness, but the spectators feared that he posed a safety threat. Public outcry... Excuse me, I'm sorry. Let's see here. Public outcry led to the torch being sealed in concrete, though he escaped due to a crack that let the oxygen seep in. The torch then inadvertently caused parts of New York City to burn, and after dealing with a mobster who wanted to gain advantage of his abilities for fire insurance, and accidentally causing the mobster's death in an explosion, he eventually learned to control his flame, rebelled against his creator, and vowed to help humanity. So overall, it's pretty cool, right? I mean, this is a guy that it's almost like Frankenstein's monster. He was buried in the concrete for crying out loud, you know, and he came out and vowed to help people. He had every reason in the world to be mad at society for shunning him and giving him a concrete bath. He had every reason in the world, but he chose not to. Alright, the Torch later first encountered and battled Namor the Submariner. He would join other heroes as war broke out in Europe and later in the Pacific to fight the Axis powers. In his solo title's debut issue, he acquired a young partner, Thomas Toro Raymond, the mutant son of two nuclear scientists whose exposure to radiation gave him the ability to control fire. The Human Torch also joined the New York City police force as part of his human cover under the name James Jim Hammond. He would later drop the human name and serve the police force outright as the Human Torch, fighting villains and his on and off again foe, the Submariner. Now here's the thing about Submariner. If you know, then you know. I'm preaching to the choir. But if you don't know, Namor, he's kind of a punk. Sometimes he is very, very temperamental. Sometimes he's a good guy, sometimes he's a bad guy, and you never really know until it happens. I mean, it's just who he is. He's just that kind of person. Okay. Both the Torch and the Submariner joined with Captain America and his partner Bucky as the core of the superhero team, the Invaders, fighting Nazis during World War II, and in retcon stories that premiered in the 1970s comics. With the Invaders, he was soon brainwashed by the Red Skull and battled the Liberty Legion. He later gave a blood transfusion to Jacqueline Fallsworth, giving her superhuman powers to become Spitfire. Now, some of you guys may be thinking, like, wait, he's an android. How is he going to give blood transfusions? I'll explain that in a bit. I'll get there. I'm going to circle around to that. The Torch, the Submariner, Captain America, and Bucky banded together with the Wizard, who was a speedster at the time, and Miss America in post-war America in a subsequent super team, the All-Winner Squad. The original Captain America and Bucky's membership were later retconned as having been the second Captain America and Bucky. Whatever on that. In Marvel continuity, the Human Torch was responsible for the death of Adolf Hitler. When the Russians were invading Berlin, the Torch and Toro broke into Hitler's bunker just as he was about to commit suicide to offer him the chance to surrender himself to the Americans rather than the Russians. Hitler lunged for a red switch presumed by the Torch to be a bomb. In return, the Human Torch blasted fire at Hitler, burning him alive. Sucks to be you, dude. That's all I gotta say about that part. Alright, sometimes afterward, the Torch was placed in deactivation sleep in the Mojave Desert. An atomic bomb test awoke him, and he learned that Toro had been captured by the Soviets and brainwashed. The Torch rescued his old partner and learned that the nuclear bomb's radiation had made his powers both much stronger and more unstable. In order to keep Toro a young boy, the writers retconned the character slightly, claiming the Torch met Toro after World War II rather than at the beginning. The revival lasted 5 issues. Later writers explained how, fearing he would become a danger to those around him, the Torch flew back out into the desert and went Nova, using up his energy reserve and effectively deactivating himself. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough, you know, I mean, you don't have radioactive fire and, you know, that's maybe a little health hazard. In modern day continuity, the supervillain the Mad Thinker reactivated Torch to have him battle the Fantastic Four, deactivating him when the Torch refused to kill the heroes. A storyline in the Avengers that dealt with the secret background of its android member, the Vision, revealed that the Torch's body has been found by a renegade robot named Ultron 5 and modified to become the Vision, his mind wiped of past memories and his powers altered with the coerced help of the Human Torch's original creator, Phineas Horton. A later story planted the suggestion that the Vision was actually made from a second android created by Horton named Adam 2. This freed up the Human Torch for a possible revival. This was followed up by John Byrne, who had the Scarlet Witch revive the Torch in Avengers West Coast, seeking answers about her husband, the Vision, and to help Anne Raymond, the wife of Tom Toro Raymond. In these stories, it was determined that the Vision had been made by Ultron out of Torch's spare parts, which explained their physical similarities. The Torch served the Avengers for many issues before losing his powers to save the former superheroine Spitfire in the 1990s series Namor. His powers gone, the Torch settled down with Anne Raymond. Now, this person that he was trying to save, the Spitfire, was the same person he gave the blood transfusion to. So, you know, it's just kind of building on it. I promise I'm going to come around to it, because I had questions about that too. Alright. A later story, let me see. Oh no, okay. He became the chief of security for Oracle Incorporated, which would appear later as CEO of Oracle, a company run by Namor. There he ran a mercenary team, Heroes for Hire, and his mysterious connection to the Vision was furthered when Ant-Man, who was Scott Lang at the time, declared that his internal mechanisms were not merely similar, but identical to the Vision's. Okay, so the mystery deepens. Despite the profound differences in their appearance and powers, during the time travel adventure Avengers Forever, the Avengers subsequently discovered Immortus, the custodian of Limbo, who had used a device called the Forever Crystal to diverge the Torch's personal timeline while keeping the two outcomes concurrent. According to this explanation, the Human Torch is the Vision, but also continues to exist as himself. That's a lot to take in. That's just confusing. And maybe that's the secret to it all, is make it so confusing that no one cares anymore to call it out. You know? Okay. When Oracle Incorporated was closed down and Heroes for Hire disbanded, Hammond was soon asked to head Citizen V's V Battalion upon the retirement of Roger Aubrey, the Destroyer. While on leave from the V Battalion as field leader of the new invaders, he became attached to Terra, a female android based on him, whom he came to regard as a daughter of sorts. He also renewed acquaintances with Spitfire, to the dismay of her beau, Union Jack, who was Joey Chapman at the time. Terra was revealed to have been created by the Red Skull. Overrides on her developing personality allowed the invaders' enemies, the Axis Mundi, to use her as a weapon against the team. As Terra headed towards Overload to kill the invaders, the Torch channeled her heat in order to prevent her meltdown. With his own systems then overloading, he flew high into the atmosphere away from where he could cause harm and detonated. The Torch's remains were recovered by the United Nations and sequestered for research. They were subsequently stolen by Professor Zhang Chen, who used the Torch's chemistry to create a virus weapon that caused infected persons to immolate. I don't know what that is. What does immolate mean? IMMOLATE. I don't feel like looking it up. What does it mean? Let me know in the comments if you're watching on YouTube. Or let me know on Instagram or Twitter or Twitch under Super Deep Dive and use the hashtag superherodeepdive. Take a screenshot of it and post it on Instagram and tag me in it. I don't care. What does it mean? Because whatever it means, they did it. So when Bucky Barnes was Captain America and the Submariner stopped the attack, they were able to pressure the US government into burying the Torch with full military honors, which is pretty cool in itself, because they just kind of acknowledged him. Okay, later, after the Civil War, the superhuman Civil War, there was a superhuman training camp created in the aftermath, named Camp Hammond in the Torch's honor. A statue of Hammond on the grounds bears the inscription, Jim Hammond, the first of the Marvels. He showed us that heroes can be made. When the camp was shut down by Norman Osborn, an angry mob tore down the statue, which sucks. That sucks. And I do have a quote from the Human Torch from Jim Hammond that I thought was really cool. It said, Professor Horton said it was an accident that I burst into flame. But what if he knew? What if he intended this? He already knew what you were doing. My creator, Phineas Horton, was Jewish. You burned them. You did this. You would claim to be the masters of this world. This is why I am the way I am. Let this be a taste of eternity, so you will know hell when you get there. That's pretty awesome. That's pretty dope. I don't know about you guys, but I dig that. That's pretty intense. But that's his history. What do you guys think so far? Like, you know, they really did a lot with this character, and I love it. I love how much they covered with it, right? Like I said, if you're watching this on YouTube, comment, like, subscribe, share. Help me grow the channel, because that would be immensely wonderful. It's under Superhero Deep Dive if you're listening and you want to check it out. What I do is I do the podcast and I do a slideshow with actual pictures of the characters, so you kind of have a good idea of who they are, what they look like, seeing them in action, stuff like that. But yeah, let's get into his powers. Because I have his powers, and then in the fun facts, I'm going to talk about his physiology, which is interesting. Okay. The Human Torch is a synthetic being designed and constructed of artificial materials. He has the capacity for creative intelligence, unlimited self-motivated activity, and human-like emotions. The Torch has the ability to envelop his body in fiery plasma without harm to himself, and to utilize this heat energy for various effects, including flight, formation of fiery shapes, energy releases in the form of heat blast, nova flame burst, which is the highest intensity heat blast similar to the heat pulse of a nuclear warhead, and concussive force blast. The torch has the ability to control ambient heat energy in his immediate environment, which allows him to control flames not of his own generation or not of his own making. Makes him immune to the effects of external heat and to absorb heat from other sources. The torch's flame can be extinguished by lack of oxygen or by smothering materials such as water, sand, firefighting foam, or heat-resistant blankets, unless his flame is at such an intensity that it immediately vaporizes such materials on contact. While in flame form, the original Human Torch has engaged in hand-to-hand combat with Namor the Submariner. He has also dug underground and through vessels like a human missile. The upper limit of his resistance has been undefined over the years, having once walked out stronger from a nuclear blast, and on another time considered destroyed by another nuclear blast, this last one happening in the last issues of The New Invaders. The Torch was also a member of the New York Police Department in the 1940s, and has police academy training. Okay, so pretty cool, right? He has received some training in unarmed combat by Captain America, and is an expert in the combat use of his superhuman powers. The Torch is also an accomplished street fighter. The Torch can also live without oxygen, entering into something like a stasis mode. So, he's immensely powerful. Like, this guy, I love how much thought and effort the creators put into him. Fun facts, publishing wise, he is the first ever Marvel superhero. And let's go into his physiology. Earlier writers portrayed the Torch's body as anatomically identical to human, but made out of synthetic materials such as ceramic bone. Correspondingly, the Torch was shown to have human needs and human weaknesses. He has been felled by drugs, poison gas, hypnotic, and telepathic attacks in both Golden Age stories and the Invaders series from the 1970s. The Torch has a heart, lung, circulatory, and digestive system, and has been shown sleeping, eating, and drinking on more than one occasion. Toro has humorously implied that the Torch has normal human excretory functions, so he goes poop like you and me. This concept of a living artificial human made of synthetic flesh and blood was unique in comics, as opposed to the more common theme of a mechanical automation that only externally resembles a human being. Which is what I immediately thought. I actually didn't know that, that he had circulatory and digestive functions and stuff like that. Like, that's crazy. Okay, so after the Mad Thinker's modifications and reactivation of the Torch, writers began to portray him as clearly mechanical, containing circuits, relays, and motors, much like a traditional robot. This variable presentation of his anatomy remains an unresolved issue, whether an overlooked continuity error or explained within the fictional context of the stories. After his creation by Phineas Horton, many others have examined and experimented on the Torch's body, including the Mad Thinker, Jang Chen, Hank Pym, and unspecified scientists working for the United Nations. It is unclear if any of these entities have made additions to the Torch's original body design that could explain the appearance of his mechanical components. In Captain America number 47, it describes the Torch's anatomy as biologically based, moving the pendulum back in the other direction. The Torch's body actually has both DNA and a cellular structure, according to Zhang Chen. Other writers have continued to emphasize the Torch's mechanical aspects, both in terms of showing metallic body components and references to the Torch having programming that can be altered. So it seems like that's kind of been up in the air the whole time. I'm sorry if you guys hear my phone going off. I thought I had it on silent, but apparently I do not. So Sorry, you know. Hopefully it doesn't bother you too much. I'm ignoring them, by the way. I think I am, at least. Alright. The Mad Thinker has stated that the Torch's organs are composed of Horton cells, which are synthetic replicas of human cells using plastic and carbon polymers that duplicate the structures found in organic human cells. These cells can be grown in a culture and are compatible with human and mutant physiology. Even in small clusters, they are capable of generating and storing a remarkable amount of power. So that explains why he was able to do the blood transfusion. While traveling inside the Human Torch in miniaturized form, Scott Lang temporarily gained a version of the Torch's powers after coming in contact with one of the cells that powers the Torch. This is an homage to a similar incident which Henry Pym entered the Vision's body and was temporarily rendered intangible. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. That's like, in wrestling, we call that long-term booking. You know? The Pyronanos, which is a type of nanomachine-based artificial being, were created using cells secretly extracted from Jim Hammond. Compound D, a mind control substance created by the Mad Thinker, is also made of Horton cells. And Thomas Toro Raymond, the Torch's teenage sidekick, is a mutant who was exposed to Horton cells as a child. The cells bonded to his nervous system and caused his powers to manifest as an exact duplicate of the Torch's. Which makes me wonder, at that point, does he become a mutate? Or did he already have the mutant gene and this just reacted to it? That's interesting. Is he a mutant or mutate? I don't know. Of particular note is the Torch's synthetic blood, which in addition to being a universal blood type, has been shown to have remarkable restorative properties. A blood transfusion from the Torch gave Spitfire her super speed powers and prevented her conversion to one of the undead. A second transfusion decades later saved her life and restored her youth. Aware of the initial transformation, the hyena obtained a blood specimen from the Torch in the hopes of creating an army of Nazi super speedsters. A similar transfusion to Warrior Woman reversed much of her brain damage and restored her health and power. And the robot Ultron reported he could actually taste life after drinking the Torch's blood. So there's that, which isn't creepy at all. But that's the story of Jim Hammond. What do you guys think? Like, this is incredibly detailed, isn't it? I love it. I love all the details. They gave him a backstory. They gave him kind of loopholes to his power, but ways to make it work too. They gave him this immense power, but they all showed where he has been fought before. So, yeah, what do you guys think of this? Like, isn't this crazy? Isn't this insane? I think it is. Like I said, you can always comment, like, subscribe, share on the videos on YouTube. I get requests on there periodically. I always try to respond to comments, even if it's just a simple like to it. I want to acknowledge you in the fact that you took the time out to write something, so thank you very much. You know, and the only time I actually click like a like button is if I feel the conversation is pretty much done. Like, someone asked what episode I was doing next, so I told them I was doing the original Human Torch, and they said thanks, so I liked the comment. Yeah, because I didn't have to go any farther than that. The conversation was done. But as always, you know, you can catch me on Twitter, Twitch, Instagram under Super Deep Dive. And use the hashtag superherodeepdive. I do post memes throughout the week on there as well, so check it out. Follow me on that. You can always send me a direct message on those as well, or comment. You know, I'll take them. I don't mind. I don't mind at all. Yeah. And let's go into the power expansion. This is my favorite part, because this is where I go into where, you know, with the comic or with the hero work in a new comic series, an animated series, mini series, ongoing live action series, a movie, Should they be out of it? You know, what should we do with the character? How can we grow this character? And so with this character, I feel like too much has already happened to him to give a proper introduction to the MCU. However, I don't see why he can't be mentioned in passing, or like maybe he's an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. or something with a reference in name, or maybe he was around during Cap's time during World War II. I mean, he was already introduced in that scene, albeit as either a mannequin or even a turned-off android in the first Captain America movie. So realistically speaking, he could be brought in. You know, it wouldn't be hard. It's just the hard part of bringing him in would be explaining why he wasn't with everything else that was going on. So maybe he was deactivated. Like I was thinking this, and I was like, okay, how could this work? I know. Maybe he was put in storage, and then he's later revived to help that new generation of Avengers that they're planning on doing. Because we've seen Kate Bishop come in as the new Hawkeye. You know, we've got all these other movies coming in with younger characters. So we're seeing where things can happen. What if he is brought in as that Captain America like figure, you know, kind of old school values, leadership roles where he can help guide and kind of motivate people? Because if you think about it, he's old school like Captain America, so he would have been quote unquote programmed with those kind of values and morals, but also he's got this power that could rival Iron Man's, for instance. So we're looking at two Avengers that are exiting, or that have exited the MCU, and they could be replaced with this one. So, you know, that could possibly work. But he's got to have his own struggles if he's going to have any more memorable screen time. So we have to do something like that. Like, maybe he's on the team working to help rebuild Vision, and it reveals that, you know, he's actually an android too. So he is battling kind of the same thing that Vision was, as far as like, I'm a robot, but I've got human feelings and emotions. You know, what do you guys think about that? Like, how would you expand on it? I want to hear from you. That's all I really have for this character. I would love to hear you guys' feedback on this, because I have always loved the original Human Torch. I do have a little announcement. In February, I was supposed to be a guest at a Comic-Con in Roanoke, Virginia called Mysticon. Because of you know, the current pandemic and how variants are coming around and people are getting infected, they just couldn't risk it, and they decided to postpone it another year. This is the second year in a row they've done this. The team, I know the team that runs it, and the team is smart, they're strong, they're motivated, they're focused, so they are going to have this back on track. But unfortunately, I won't be able to do the live panels, which I wanted to do. But I really would like to try to get Twitch going, or maybe even YouTube Live or something. But I'm anxious to hear what you guys have to say on that. Like, let me know. Once again, you can leave a comment on any of my YouTube videos. You can also send me a message on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram under superdeepdive. Follow me there. You know, I'd love to hear what you guys think, or send me an email if you want. My email address is b4itall, so b4itall@yahoo.com. But yeah, like I said, let me know what you guys think. I'm gonna cut out for now, but in the meantime, guys, everyone, enjoy your new year while you have it, before before 2022 really gets settled in, everyone be safe, be blessed, be happy, be smart, and if you're not smart, don't get caught. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye, guys.